Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. Truly is. So, today we are going back down the Reddit rabbit hole again with some new stories. I have not read these stories, so I am blind reacting to them for the first time with you guys right now. So, let's just start. I had sex with my teacher. Okay, so for the last few days in my Spanish class, I'm a junior. I've been staring up and down my teacher. She's extremely sexy and has nice breasts and a smile. I sometimes take peeks at her legs and smile at her whenever I see her. Today was something different though. I needed some help on one of my assignments, and as I was absent the previous day, I also kind of wanted an excuse to see her. I went up to her desk and I saw her sitting there wearing a nice blue scarf. It was covered around her breast, and I saw a lot of exposed skin to the point where it looked like the scarf alone was covering her breasts. I asked her for help and she said, "Let me get my notes." Then she bent over and then immediately turned around and caught me staring at her ass. I got really nervous and she gave me a stern look. I had never seen her upset. What she did next, I never would have expected. She smiled. Then she got up. I'm about 2 inches taller than her. And she slowly started to brush her hands across my face. Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't know what was going on because you're 15. That's why you didn't know what was going on. But I didn't fight back. She led me to the back of the room where no one could see us, through the door, and unbuttoned her shirt. This is disgusting. I saw her bra and I almost flipped out, as now I was already seeing the consequences. She's a very beautiful woman with nice curves and such, but I knew I couldn't do this. She then yanked out my zipper and I just automatically pulled down my jeans, exposing my boxers as my was sticking out, like it was trying to break through them. She simply pulled those down too, and I almost kicked her. I then grabbed her by her elbow and we started to make out. I then tore off her bra, which I know sounds cliche as hell, but please just listen to me. To suck on her boobs, and then she started to, oh my God, put her mouth on my, down there. And it was one of the best feelings I have ever felt. She then asked me if I had ever had sex, to which I said no. I had watched porn videos before, but I am not an avid viewer or anything. She slowly went to her desk and got a rubber out of her purse. We then did the deed. When we were done, she smiled and I nervously just walked away without saying anything. That is not to say it wasn't the best feeling I have ever had. This happened 6 days ago, and now I am very nervous if I will get suspended or expelled. Every day after school, I come to see her to discuss this with her, and she always just smiles and kisses me, and no, I do not refuse. In fact, yesterday we almost did it again when I reluctantly needed help and she started to tempt me with her green bra. I literally grabbed her boob and she reached for my, you know, I do not know what to do. I really do like my teacher and want to continue being her partner. But I really have my education and life to put ahead of me. What should I do? Well, first off, sir, your teacher is a disgusting pig and she never should have taken your virginity. Let's start there. Second of all, you need to stop this like yesterday. This is disgusting. I had hardcore sex with my teacher. So this story might not be as erotic as you might expect because I think me and my teacher genuinely had strong feelings for each other. I would go as far as to say we were basically in a relationship for about a year before we had sex. Before we got together, him and his wife would take care of me in the evenings because my parents would be at work. How lovely of them. And they were already good friends with them. Oh, okay. So your teacher knew your parents. Your parents trusted your teacher, and then he went and did this anyway. Behind what? His wife's back? Eventually, they ended up getting divorced after my teacher found out she was cheating with some of her coworkers. It just so happened that I was also getting cheated on by my boyfriend at the time. So I was also fresh out of a relationship. Although this was way more important, obviously, yeah, because this is a marriage. And you're underage, and oh, he's your teacher. With his wife out of the equation and also coping with our breakups, we ended up becoming closer with each other pretty quickly. This is disgusting. I'm already disgusted. On one of my birthdays, we ended up basically confessing our feelings to each other, and we agreed to be in a secret relationship, which honestly consisted of the same stuff we were already doing, like flirting, cuddling, movie date nights, a little drinking too. Nothing crazy. Oh, so not only is he sleeping with you, he's also giving you alcohol. That's a stand-up dude. On his birthday, which is a few weeks after mine, and just so happened it was on Father's Day weekend, we shared our first kiss and things escalated from there. Cuddles turned into makeout sessions, bedtime would be more intimate. We'd even shower together and sleep in the nude, but we never went all the way. We planned to do it for the first time on my birthday, but plans fell through because I ended up getting a little too tipsy, so I had to stay home that night. Oh, mommy and daddy wouldn't let you out? That should have been your first clue. Things finally came along on his birthday weekend. My dad let me spend all day at my teacher's house the Saturday before Father's Day because he knew how close we were. He did not know how close you were, okay? He probably thought he knew how close you were, but I don't think Daddy knew how close you really were. And he was like a second father to me. Oh my Lord. No, 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 no. Because you know why? Because you're not supposed to sleep with your father. You're not supposed to sleep with your second father. You're not supposed to sleep with your teacher. Or at least that's how my dad saw it. There we go. I knew I had to doll myself up because there was no way the night was going to end without us going to town. My teacher ended up turning the tables by spoiling me, even though it was his birthday. We had a dinner reservation at a hibachi place at around 9, so we spent our time walking through the mall while we waited. We would pretend to be related while we were out to avoid suspicion. I talked him into splitting up so that I could buy him a present. I ended up buying him a hat and a football jersey from his favorite team for his main gift. I had walked into Spencer's to buy him a gag gift also when I saw the lingerie they had in the back. I was tempted, but I felt like I would be doing too much if I got it. Although I did end up buying a pair of thigh stockings that I thought were pretty cute, which got ruined later that night. More on that in a few. We made it to dinner, finally, after shopping. I gave him his gift and we finished our meals. He gave me a gift too, which was a necklace with my initial on it. We made it back home late night around 11:30 and had a nice little hangout session, sharing a few drinks, listening to music, dancing around, and being all lovey-dovey. Wasn't too long, things started to heat up a bit. After we were both pretty drunk, this is your student. After we were both pretty drunk, I got up and told him I needed to change to get ready for bed. He played it cool and told me he'd get ready, but I'm sure he knew it was going to go down. I went into the bathroom to tidy up, got undressed, and put on his bathrobe and the necklace he got me before I presented myself to him. I remembered I had bought the stockings and regretted not getting the lingerie. but I still said, what the heck, and put on the stockings in the living room. I went back over to the bedroom and called out his name at the doorway. As soon as he looked at me, I dropped my robe. Funny enough, he was fully clothed in the bulkiest pajamas I had ever seen, and all I had in was socks. All I had on. See, this is what I mean. You can't even write properly. Why are you sleeping with your teacher? And all I had on was socks and a necklace. I figured maybe he didn't know it was going to go down, but the vibe shifted quick after we hopped into bed and started making out. After a few minutes of kissing, he undressed and things took off from there. The only pause we took was for him to get up and put on a condom after we finished our role play. Shortly after that, which was a little bit after midnight, if I remember correctly, we started off trying to go slow, but I think the thought of finally having it and the realization that he was my teacher hit us fairly quickly. All of a sudden, we were having the hardest sex we both ever had. I guess the taboo aspect of it gave us a big rush of endorphins and hormones that we started taking each other more intensely. It was by far the loudest and wildest sex I've ever had. And according to him, after the fact, it was his too. His condom had also came off sometime during, and we noticed it after already banging for about an hour straight. It was then that I also noticed that we and the bed were covered in sweat and pre-cum. It was a super messy sight, to be honest, but we kept at it for about another hour, doing all sorts of positions, riding, making out the whole 9 yards. We finally finished around 3 or 3:30, and by the time we were done, the bed was completely wet. We were both covered in sweat and juices, and I was, oh my God, this is so gross. And I was also showered in semen by him too, to make matters worse. My socks, unfortunately, did make it through the action, covered in juice also, and not to mention they were a little torn, but regardless, I didn't take them off because I didn't have any energy left and ended up sleeping and cuddling together in the nastiness. How incredibly romantic. Despite us having so much fun that night and having these extreme feelings for each other, we ended up becoming super awkward after all of that, and we agreed that we couldn't see each other anymore. I think it was a big case of post-nut clarity that we had that made us realize what we did was wrong. Me and my teacher don't hang around each other like that anymore. I told my parents I want to stay home alone after school now because I was old enough and wanted to give my teacher his alone time. And I didn't want rumors to start popping up. I don't think I would ever do anything like this again. And I do regret doing all of that with my teacher, but I still see it as a super fun memory. Really? That's where we're going with that, huh? It's a super fun memory. I've never gotten a chance to tell this to anyone, so I figured I would just tell the entire internet. So I figured this would be a great place to get it out there without a lot of judgment. You're on Reddit, girl. Okay? No, you're on the internet. You're going to get judged. I just judged you. Those who has had real experiences and can relate. Sorry to make this story super long, but I tried to squeeze in only the most important details, and I hope my story was enjoyable. I had sex with my high school advisor. I was 16 that time, and she's 49. She's widowed, and her son and daughter are away in college. She's with a relative that serves as her housekeeper who only works at daytime. Even at 49, she's still very enchanting, voluptuous, and has a nice, milfy body. She looks a bit like Catherine Zeta-Jones. She has a nice bob haircut, always smells good, sweet, lusty voice, and almost all male students at school are turned on by her. She's our English teacher, and I've always crushed on her since I was 13. I tried to impress her by getting high grades in her class, being a reliable student that she trusts, and volunteering during class activities. In 4 years of high school, I've grown to have special feelings for her. I didn't even have any crushes with the girls at school, as she was the one that gives me the romantic feelings. Then, during my senior year, when I was 16, she became our class advisor, and I was very happy. I never got tired of going to school every day. That time, I thought she was at her prime beauty at 49, and my guy classmates can't help but talk about their sexual desires for her when we are in the comfort room or during breaks. I admit I loved it and got turned on by it every time. I'll never forget staring at her beautiful face, ass, legs, neck, and mouth during class the whole day and pleasuring myself to her every night. It was during before our graduation, maybe a month before, when all of her students would have a one-on-one sharing with our advisor where she's supposed to just hear our thoughts and give advice to what courses we should decide since we're going to enter a new working college. It was just a 3 to 5 minute talk on the counseling room. I'm still a student that time, so I didn't plan to do anything crazy like confess to her. I just told her I'm going to take up a business course, etc. And she told me to never give up on any challenge and good luck. For some reason, I always believe there's something in the way she looks at me. She's always comfortable with me, trusts me, and we're very close. She even praised me to my mom, saying I was one of her best students. Social media, here we go again. This is why you need to not sleep with your teacher. You need to just study, okay? Social media wasn't around that time, so we just exchanged numbers just so I could reach out to her whenever I need her. We started texting, and since I know she's widowed, I was sending her romantic quotes and stuff, and I was surprised with how sweet she was to the point where she would always reply to every text of mine. Until one time, I took up the courage and asked if we could have some bonding, like go to the mall as teacher students, since high school is about to end. Long story short, we had lunch and strolled all stores. It's basically a date. Then, when we're both comfortable, we sit and talk on table beside the arcade games, and I told her that all this time I've been crushing on her, jokingly and in a funny way. She was shocked and embarrassed, but smiling, saying she's old enough to be my mother. With the loud music playing in the arcades, our strong emotions, we started holding hands in a flirty way. I was rubbing my thumb on her hand. She said, I hope I won't forget her when I go to college. I told her, why don't we do something we'll never forget? Smooth, dude, smooth. A wonderful memory. At that point, we're both mutual with what are thinking. We're thinking of having sex. Okay, no, we're not mutual. You know why? Because a 16-year-old cannot give consent. Okay? So therefore, this is not mutual because you're 16 and you do not have the capability to give consent. We commute to her house around 3 p.m. and her housekeeper is not around. I still don't know how to use a condom at that time. Exactly. You don't even know how to use a condom. How are you consenting to this? She said it's fine and I don't have to use them. As soon as the door locked, we started to embrace tight and started kissing. My heart was pounding and the blood was rushing to my penis. I squeezed her boobs, licked her neck, grabbed her ass, and rubbed my private on her front while she was rubbing on my back. She smelled so good and it made me super aroused. We started saying I love you to each other. That turns us on even more. You don't love each other. I can promise you that. At least not right now. Not at this point, you don't. We went to her room and she said she'll just quickly wash her body in the bathroom. I lay down on her bed and got naked. I was very excited and my body is having chills. She came out with just a towel on and laughed when she saw me naked and just asked me to wash my body as well. I just took around 20 seconds to wash myself and used her clothes that she took off to dry myself. I lay down to her and we start kissing again. I raised her arms and licked her armpits. That's lovely. What? What? Is that even a thing? What? She loved it. She moans happily. Okay, maybe it is a thing. Ew. Ew. Armpits are gross. Armpits are nasty. Okay, that's disgusting. She moans happily, and her body was excited as she kept moving up and down as I do it. I was calling her by her first name and not ma'am anymore while she's calling me hun. I touch and lick every part of her upper body, and she enjoys every bit of it, like she's in her honeymoon. I closed my eyes and felt the joyous pleasure of having the teacher I've loved for 4 years taking care of me. We're telling each other I love you, and she tells me she also loves my private and wants it in her mouth. Oh, that's lovely. She was looking into my eyes as we held hands. She was winking at me and moving her eyebrows up and down. It lasted for just about 2 minutes because I can't help it and I don't want to finish inside of her mouth. Disgusting. I feel dirty even reading this, and I had nothing to do with this. She was helpless, submissive, and giving all herself to me. She was all mine from that point. More kissing and tongue to tongue as she says she wants to bang me. She said, do what you've always wanted for years, when smiling, and her arms around my shoulder. I kissed her and lied down and had her on top of me. I'm kissing her, sucking every crevice, every nook and cranny. Okay, that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about smelling sweat, saliva, and breath, making it even better. Ew. He finishes, gets chills all over his body. Okay, she moans. You know what? I don't think that you did anything fabulous. You know why? Because she's banging a 16-year-old at 49. So she's disgusting to begin with. Okay, how about that? I was smiling with joy as I embraced her and was grasping for air while on top of her. I felt some guilt, but at the same time, the feeling of satisfaction and a thrill. It was the happiest moment in my life, that moment. Just lied in bed quietly for about 5 minutes and started cuddling again. I checked the time and it has only been about 20 minutes, but that sex felt like eternity. We didn't stop there. Okay. We're doing this again. He apparently finishes 4 more times. I don't know that I necessarily believe you, dude. I'm just saying, okay? I don't know that I necessarily believe that. You did that. You finished 5 times. I don't believe you. Sorry. But he apparently finished 4 more times, and that is symbolic of the 4 years that he loved her. After that, I put on my clothes. We had our goodbye kiss while she's still naked, and I went home around 7 p.m. and can't get that smile off my face. It didn't happen again until after our graduation, weeks after. Though she gave me a BJ 3 separate times inside the faculty restroom at school during those weeks before graduation. She did it after our class around 4 p.m. Maybe she did. You know what? What is that? If what you're saying is true, any of it, it's a BJ in school. After graduation, her gift to me is a celebration sex where she brought good food for me and she dressed up with her teacher clothes while we make out and bang. We banged as early as 8 a.m. and spent the whole day in her house having non-stop sex everywhere. We didn't finish until 9 p.m. and I busted 10 times. Our relationship went on for 4 years where all we did was have sex 2 to 3 times a week and every special occasion. Sorry, like, let me just get this straight. You bang 10 times in one day, but then when you're in a relationship, you bang 2 to 3 times a week. Really? Really? I even canceled my plans of going to my dream college in the capital city and settled for some college school near home so I get to visit her often. We never got tired of having sex with each other for years up until I finished college. It all just kind of stopped when her son got married, had a baby, and moved and stayed at her house, and she took care of her grandchild. The, the sex slowly started to become less often. I think we had our final sex in a motel before the winter holiday. And as time passes, I eventually had sex with several different women, married women, office mates, my neighbor's wife, singles, and had girlfriends. It came to a point where we started losing touch with each other as life happens. We both became busy and had other things we have to do. Then, when I unexpectedly saw her again, she was already noticeably old and granny looking, though you could still see the beauty in her. We catch up one time for coffee and we joke and relive the memories. We just hugged and said each other our best regards. That's probably the last time we saw each other face to face. I'm still friends with her on social media, and it's where I get to know what's the latest on her. And sometimes when I'm having sex with a woman, I was thinking of her during the old days. The best sex I've ever had in my life will always be with my beloved high school teacher. I was 14 when I first had sex with my then 50-year-old teacher. And yes, I'll call it sex, not our word. From my personal point of view, I consented. You absolutely did not consent. Okay, let's just get that straight right off the bat. You did not consent because you cannot consent to this at 14 years old. You did not consent. This is annoying me. Stop saying that. You did not consent to anything. The relationship, such as it was, lasted until I was about 20 years old, on and off, mostly in secret. I know that the relationship itself was pretty effed up overall, although not necessarily for the reasons you might think. Oh, there's different reasons other than you're 14 banging your 50-year-old teacher. There's something more fucked up than that. Okay, let's see. What? What is it? And unhealthy aspects to it. But I also learned a lot from it about myself, my sexuality, and what feelings regarding romantic relationships. I discovered I don't actually believe in romantic relationships or dating as such, that I'm bi and non monogamous. Why do you have to sleep with your 50-year-old teacher to figure that out? I shared intellectually stimulating conversations about philosophy, religion, spirituality, science, etc. with this man. I've always been very mature for my age, though I certainly lacked a certain emotional relational maturity, as all teenagers and young adults do, especially when under the influence of infatuation. The sex was enjoyable as far as I can recall, though I've had better sex since. Obviously, I've had a high sex drive and intellectual artistic interest in erotica ever since my sexual awakening. There's nothing wrong with that. Let me just say that. There's nothing wrong with that. The fact that you were taken advantage of at 14 years old by your 50-year-old teacher, that's where something's wrong. I was a very horny teenager, and the man in question never forced me out of my comfort zone. If anything, I made him try new things, though nothing out of the ordinary. I've had years, I'm now 26, to reflect on this relationship, and I have no regrets about what happened. I'm not entirely done digesting the experience, Elsewise, I wouldn't be talking about it, but overall, I'm at peace with it. I realize my experience is exceptional, and I'm certainly not looking to encourage any young person to embrace that kind of situation. Please don't do that. Don't ever do that. I'm in the tiny minority. Most young women in my position are victims of SA, but experiences like mine also do exist. No, 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 honey, sweetheart, no. You were so close. You were so close. I was about to just be like, all right, you had that one little hiccup in the beginning because you did not consent at 14. You are not a special circumstance. You are a victim. Okay? Let's just get that straight off the bat, okay? No. There are no fuck does she call it? There are no experiences. He didn't have an experience. You were groomed. I had sex with my teacher junior year and I haven't told anybody. Age of consent is 16 where this took place. I completely consented. Big bold letters. Did not consent because you don't have the capability to consent at 16 years old. I'm graduated now, 22. But when I was a junior in high school, 17, I had this biology teacher. Let's call her Miss T. She was a pretty young, pretty teacher, probably 26 or 27. Okay. You have not even hit your teacher's age yet. It's a problem. I think this was her second year teaching. What I can say is I was very attracted to her. So I would like slightly innocently hit on her or what I thought was hitting on her. Like making her laugh at stupid things I say or say really stupid things just for extra help. She was a really chill teacher. But I constantly did this for a few months until a big test was coming up that I was not ready for at all. Instead of joking this time, I went up to her desk after class last period and asked if there was anything I could do to get extra help on the test. She told me she could call my mom and ask me to stay after school while she finishes up and she can give me extra work and she'll take me home when I'm done. Um, so here's the thing. If the person you want to sleep with has to call your mommy to make sure that you can stay later, but doesn't actually tell mommy what you're really planning on doing, it's probably something you shouldn't fucking do. I said yeah, my mom said yeah. So she told me where to go on my laptop and to study all of that and all the boring school stuff. I got all my work done and she did too around 3 o'clock. Out of school, we get in her car. First thing she does is hands me aux that gave me butterflies. I don't remember what I played, but we started driving. She said I'm in the mood for a milkshake and she asked me if I wanted one. Obviously, I knew she was offering to get me one, but I had to do my signature, oh, I don't have any money. And she obviously said it was fine and she will get me one. So we pull into McDonald's drive-thru and get milkshakes. Have fun. Instead of driving home, we park in an empty parking lot like 500 feet away and start drinking the milkshakes. We get to talking about school, grades, and my future, and soon the convo turns to relationships and if I have a girlfriend. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and she says, why not? And I basically said, I'm dragging my balls without actually telling her I'm dragging my balls. Then the convo takes a big ass jump to if I'm a virgin, and I say no, and she smiles. That's when I try to make a slight move. At this point in my high school career, I can flirt with a high school age female, not my bio teacher, so I try for a why do you ask with a little smirk, and I don't know what she said, but it ended with her leaning in for a kiss. We made out for a solid 10 seconds before I say you want to move to the back. You're a ballsy kid. You're a ballsy kid. I will give you that. We moved to the back, and I have the best 15 minutes of my life. I have the best 15 minutes of my life. I also didn't have a condom on, so I told her it might be a good idea to stop by CVS to grab a Plan B. So we stopped there, and she takes me home, and she went in for a kiss when I was about to get out of the car. I don't got a problem with that, but normally when I hook up with girls, I don't kiss them after. It makes me feel like they think this was something more than a hookup, which I did not want my teacher thinking that. Overall, it was an incredible experience that I want to get off my chest because nobody that knows me knows about this besides my teacher. Probably because it's illegal, friend. Also, I didn't study for the test at all. I forgot all about it. And I know I failed it, but when I got it back, it was a 91%. Didn't see that coming. And the rest of the year, I never got under a B on an assignment. After that, even if I didn't turn it in. Really? I'm just I went to school for a really long time and I never slept with my teachers. I never even thought about sleeping with my teachers. Okay? You know what? If I failed, I just took it on the chin. I just kept fucking moving. I did. You guys are still here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you and I appreciate you so, so, so very much. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't yet and you feel so inclined to, because it really helps me out. I really, really appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe out there.